And here is the video.
I remember reading Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast of Champions in the 1970s. The anti-hero in the book was Kilgore Trout, and here is one of my favorite quotes from the book. "What is the purpose of life? To be the eyes and ears and conscience of the creator of the universe, you fool." Kurt Vonnegut, Breakfast of Champions. What is the purpose of life is an interesting question that is asked often. It is the question of religions, and for the most part the answers given are not satisfactory and are similar. For Christianity, it is to gain heaven and avoid hell. For Buddhism, it is to leave samsara and gain nirvana. For the New Age, it is to become enlightened to our divinity and return to oneness. All of them seem to want to escape the material plane for the spiritual plane. Some of them presuppose a creator that is apart from and greater than us humans, who is an eternal cosmic judge who passes judgment on our worthiness or lack thereof. However, is there a better answer? I believe there is. It comes from an eclectic approach to religions, philosophy, and science. Even Christianity and Buddhism has some of the answer, but not all of it. One does not have to adapt their escapist approach to gain value from them. The value comes from rejecting the escapist idea while incorporating some of the other concepts. The escapist idea is found as well in the Tao and the Hermetica. The Tao and Hermeticism has a lot to offer once the escapist aspect is eliminated. The best expression of Hermeticism with the least escapist view is found in the Kabbalion. I will use some of the principles in the Kabbalion to argue for the point of view that is not escapist. It is a point of view that values the material, physical plane as much as it values the mental and spiritual planes. The Kabbalion mentions 3 planes of existence. They are the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. It also presents them within the principle of polarity and vibration. The 3 planes are really all one plane, with the ultra-spiritual being at the upper polar extreme and basic matter at the lower polar extreme. It sees each as an overlapping phenomenon based on vibration. As a result, it mentions several planes that exist in this polar continuum. It is this polar continuum that births the principle of correspondence. This is where one gets the as above so below, and as below so above concept. Each plane along the polar continuum have essentially the same properties, ideals, etc. It is from this polar continuum that I will try to show the reason that all of the planes have equal value and are necessary to the whole. This will ultimately show that the material plane is not something to escape. One can grow tired of it for a time, which will also be explained by correspondence. Further, I can only argue from the below so above part of the axiom as long as we are participating in the material plane. However, if the continuum is correct, if polarity and correspondence are correct, then I can arrive at some fairly certain assertions about the nature of reality and the purpose of life. It is in this way of reasoning that I can show that God, the all or creative consciousness based on your preference, is love and peace, joy, and goodness. I can also show why reincarnation in a certain sense and way is beneficial and a necessity based upon the polar continuum. Further, I can show why it will all work out equal over the course of infinity. It is my belief that this provides a logical, reasonable answer to what is the purpose of life and why the escapist view is incorrect. All of the reasoning will come from the idea, as below so above. I can't reason from the as above so below idea because I am doing my reasoning from a place on the material plane. While I can experience the spiritual plane from this vantage point, it would be totally subjective and would not offer proof. However, if I argue from the as below so above idea, I can show that my reasoning is logical and very likely correct. I am not just presenting this for the believers but for the skeptics as well. Of course, there is one thing that I cannot prove which must be allowed as a presupposition for this to be meaningful, and it is that there is a continuum from consciousness to the material. Allow this and the logic will follow, and if you listen with an open mind, I think it is likely that it will resonate with you. Here is the first argument against the escapist idea. If we are all divine in nature, I am not saying we are not, I believe that we are, and if we began in the divine spiritual realm and that was sufficient for us, why would we have left it to descend in the first place? If the goal is only to discover our divinity and return to infinite bliss, why go through that process at all? For me, it makes no sense and therefore seems logical that the material realm has a necessary purpose. Here is where I will go to my first, as below so above. Once we have our basic needs to survive met, we then need nurturing, and finally we need to move to self-actualization. That is accomplished by experience and action and achievement. We learn and grow. We do that through various life experiences. When we do not have challenges, we become bored. Being bored is not a desirable state for us. Being challenged and growing is a desirable outcome for us in the material plane, so that would ring true in the mental and spiritual planes as well, as below so above. So, what about reincarnation? I hear so many people say I am tired and would not want to reincarnate. Give many life paths that is totally understandable. However, let's look at video games for a minute. They are challenging and at times maddening. I have an adult son that likes to play Call of Duty. He finds it rewarding until he doesn't. When he is totally frustrated, he puts the game down and either rests or finds a new game for a time. Ultimately though, he returns to Call of Duty to experience another round and hone his skills with the controller. We are all that way even with life. We work, we play, we get tired, we rest, and we sleep. However, we return to either work or play after rest. This is a cycle that plays out over our entire lives. Using the concept of as below so above, we can logically reason that the same is true on the continuum between spiritual and material. It is our individuation that offers the opportunity for experience on the material plane, and the individuation is a necessary. I am at the waning years of my earthly sojourn, and honestly, it is exhausting to think about starting over again. That is why I will likely rest for the necessary time, but will at some point want to take on a new challenge and a new experience. Why should I assume that over the eternity of infinity it will all work out equally? This is a simple logical answer. When I look at the as below, so above concept, I realize that in this material plane equality is more desirable than inequality. It is then reasonable to believe that in the highest spiritual realm of divinity, equality and egalitarian outcomes are preferred. Just like the fact that love is more desirable than hate, and good is more desirable than evil, peace is more desirable than turmoil, and joy is more desirable than sorrow, I can easily extrapolate that love, good, peace and joy are preferred at the highest level of spiritual divinity, and that through incarnations we all are traversing an upward spiral towards those goals in ever-increasing ways. If you look into the idea of spiral dynamics, you will see that humanity is actually moving on an upward spiral no matter what the nightly news, social media, or common belief suggests. Here you have a logical reason that love, joy, peace, and goodness is the goal of spiritual divinity. It simply makes sense that the purpose of life is to experience the abstract potential of the knowledge of the Supreme Divine. There is no need for an external judge. If we have in egalitarian fashion experienced love and hate, good and evil, joy and sorrow, and peace and turmoil, then whenever we have perpetrated or participated in the negative aspects of these polarities, a simple life review in the presence of divine potential knowledge will be sufficient correction. But most importantly, it is obvious that the material world and our individuated egos are not a thing to escape, but rather an opportunity for experience to make the most of. It is reasonable that we have the ability to choose our life path every step of the journey. If this resonates with you, please like, subscribe, comment, and share.